Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Allison's Corner. It's been a while since I have done a solo episode, so it's just gonna be me today. And as you can see, our background looks a little different than usual. I'm not in my usual space. Usually, you see my bed, you see my stuffed animals, you see the lamp, you see it all, but I'm in a different location today. And yeah, we're just gonna record and chat and talk to you. These next few episodes are gonna be solo, so you're just gonna be dealing with me, but counting today's episode, we have 3 episodes left until the end of the season. I can't believe I'm really saying that because it's just so weird. So we'll be ending season 6. Of course, we always take about a month off just to regroup, get our lives together, whatever. And then we'll be going into season 7. I think that's just so crazy. I can't believe we are heading into 7 seasons of Allison's Corner, and it'll be 3 years of Allison's Corner. That's crazy. So I just want to take the time to shout out everyone for pulling through with this season. Also, as you can see with our cadences, we're also doing 1 week of our podcast episodes, and of course, check us out on YouTube, listen to us wherever all of our podcasts are streaming. We're streaming everywhere. But also, we have a newsletter. And every other week, when we don't have an episode, we have a newsletter. And that's a little bit more personal. I'm just writing whatever I want. And I've been getting really good feedback. So thank you for those of you who have been reading on our newsletter. Go ahead and follow. Of course, the information for our newsletter is on Substack, and you can go on Substack, look up Allison's Corner Pod, type that in, and you can go ahead and follow us, or it'll be on the episode description box wherever you are watching this, whether this be on YouTube or if you're listening, you can find it in the episode description box there. So, just wanted to let you guys know before we move on. Also, I do have to put a little asterisk of a disclaimer. If you hear my voice, I don't know what happened. I woke up this morning and I had a sore throat. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. I've been drinking water to keep myself hydrated. I probably need some tea. But if I'm being honest with y'all, I don't know where this came from. It's not allergies because I usually don't have allergies. I'm just not an allergies person. I happen to not have to deal with those, thankfully. So I just want to let you know, if you hear me sounding crazy, that is why. But today's episode is not going to derail us. And today I really wanted to talk about the 5 Black TV characters who represent me. So today's episode is a little bit of like a love letter to the TV characters who I aspired to be, or who are a lot like me in more ways than I kind of want to admit. So these 5 Black women on TV, for me, they just don't entertain, but I feel like they also reflect parts of me that I'm struggling with, or I've been through, or I'm just wanting to aspire to be. And some of them show me who I used to be, some of them show me who I want to be, and some of them still show me who I am. And I'll be sharing some of my favorite scenes as far as how these characters are in their particular shows, how I personally relate to them, and just, how all of this kind of hits a little close to home. So go ahead and grab your tea, coffee, water, whatever, your journal, or whatever you need to chill, and we're about to get into it. So, number one, if we are going to kick it off with one person, we're definitely gonna kick it off with Miss Issa D. Cause listen, let me tell y'all, she is Insecure in general is just like one of my favorite TV shows, and I feel like everybody can relate to Issa. Well, Issa D. her character, Issa Rae's character, in some way. I think also with the show, it starts off on her 29th birthday, and as the seasons progress, I think it ends when she's like maybe like 32. So it's a really good representation of people who are in that like transition period between their 20s to their 30s, and kind of how crazy your early 30s are, and how your friend groups look, where some are married and having kids like her friend Tiffany, and some are single and trying to figure it out like her and Molly. Some of them are in established careers, like Kelly and Molly are, and Issa's still trying to understand just all of that. And I think with Issa's character, she's really a good definition of trying your best while just simultaneously second guessing yourself and everything that you're doing. And I think Issa really captures that awkward phase when you are an adult, but emotionally you're still kind of like a 19 and confused and don't know what the hell is going on. And what I love about her is that she's creative, she's messy, she's hilarious, and she's also very real. We see as the seasons progress, or as the show itself progress, she definitely begins to establish herself professionally, finds what it is that she loves, and at the end of the show, we see her future self, you know, pretty much where she always wanted to be. And we also see the future self of Molly and some of her other friends as well as the years progress. And my personal favorite scene is probably her rapping in the mirror, like all the time, just to hype herself up. And even though she's trying to hype herself up, she immediately leaves the house and she gets humbled. So, listen, I can relate to that because I can't even tell you how many times I've given myself a full on TED talk in the mirror, and then I've gone out and I have fumbled the bag in literally less than 5 minutes. So, Issa gives you pretty much tried your best. And listen, sometimes that is all that matters. One of my favorite relatable moments with her was when she was creating her block party, or just really getting everything together for her block party, and nobody took her seriously at first. Everybody was like, yeah, you always mess stuff up at the end, so whatever. And unfortunately, things did go awry at the end, no fault of hers. Well, that's debatable, but at the end of the day, when the block party did take place, everybody was shocked. And I think that fear of what if I believe in this thing and nobody shows up is something that imposter syndrome, I talk about it all the time on here, please. That's felt, and that is definitely real. So I can completely understand that. Even with this podcast, like creating it, and even venturing and doing other things, you oftentimes have to ask yourself, well, what if nobody supports me? What if I am the only person who is taking all of this seriously? What if I am the only one who is just doing whatever it is that I need to do so that I can succeed? And that is a very, 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 very real feeling that I think a lot of us can relate to. I myself can. So definitely understand that. I do have a question for y'all though. Have you ever hyped yourself up before an event or a presentation or something that you had to do, and then immediately start spiraling afterwards? You have to let me know, because it just can't be me and Issa. Just can't, okay? Now, this second woman is somebody who I definitely aspire to be, and that is none other than Claire Huxtable from The Cosby Show. We ain't gonna talk about Bill. We ain't talking about him. Okay, forget him. We know but I love Claire Huxtable. I love who she represents because she represents a part of me, of the woman that I one day aspire to be, and the version of me that comes out when I'm on. You know, she's very composed, she's brilliant, she is soft, she's funny, but she is absolutely not here for anybody's foolishness. She will let you know in a heartbeat that she is not the one to try, okay? I love that time when she politely but firmly she lets someone know that a woman doesn't owe gratitude for being married to a man who does the bare minimum. And I'm like, maybe how old was I when I saw that episode? I think she was talking to Elvin. She always be putting Elvin in his place. I was probably like maybe we'll say 10. And I'm watching that speech and I'm like, yes, Miss Huxtable, Mrs. Huxtable. Definitely, definitely right about that. I think one thing why she resonates for me is that she is proof that you can be nurturing without being a doormat. And a lot of us get that confused because I know for me personally, having people pleasing tendencies and things of that nature, you can be powerful, but you also don't have to be harsh. You can be graceful, but that doesn't mean you can be passive. And I think a lot of times where I channel my inner Claire Huxtable is kind of when I'm giving a presentation at work or I'm doing meetings. And I just say, if I was her, if I was Claire Huxtable, right? I'm pretending I'm a lawyer. I'm in the courtroom and I'm presenting my case, but I'm doing so in a way that is professional, that grabs your attention, that makes you think, hey, this person over here is is not guilty, they're innocent, and I want you to know that, and I'm trying to persuade you as much as possible. I think in a lot of those ways, that is when I channel that. And of course, not in a courtroom and anything, but just like, how can I command attention in a way that is powerful without being abrasive? And I even want to go a little bit more deeper into that because a lot of times, as Black women, we are often given the stereotype of being abrasive and being aggressive and being powerful, but a lot of the times those have negative connotations to them. And what I love the most about Claire Huxtable's character is that she gives into those descriptions, but not in a negative sense. And I think that's also a powerful way of looking at it, especially being another Black woman. So, of course, I have a question for you guys as it relates to Claire Huxtable. If you could bring Claire Huxtable energy to one area of your life right now, be it work, relationships, your own personal goals, what would it be? And how do you think Claire would go about it? You don't have to answer. I just want you to think about it in your head and process it. But I oftentimes, when I'm in certain situations, think, what would blank do? What would whoever do? And in this case, what would Claire Huxtable do? What would she do if she was confronted with this issue? And trust me, them kids gave her and her husband a lot of problems, and she handled it well. So, yeah. Character number 3 for sure for me is Khadijah James of Living Single. And Living Single, I love that show. That's like one of my all-time comfort shows. And the reason why I love Khadijah is because she was that girl before people were really talking about being that girl and girl bossing. She was it, okay? She ran her own magazine, paid her own bills, and still she had time to hang out with her friends on a random Tuesday night. You know, she was everybody's homegirl, but she was also that girl. And I love it. I love it. I love it. She had the men coming after her. What was his name? Scooter. That was her love interest, and I just loved how she had it together. Well, she had it together, and she made sure you were not going to see her sweat. She had that hustle energy, and I love it. She was not letting anyone or anything stand in her way in her being a boss. And I think that is something that we can all learn from, especially for me as somebody who's trying to build something out of passion and vision and with limited resources and God knows a very tired soul. Okay, because she built Flavor off of that and she was able to make a name for herself in the hip hop and R&B, industry through journalism. And one thing that I love most about Khadijah is that she's ambitious, but she's also very funny at the same time. She was always there for her girls, no matter what any of them were going through, and she was also being a boss at the same time. And you don't have to be all hard, like cold and mean and callous to be a boss. I think that's one thing that she definitely showed me. You can still be soft, but you just get to choose who sees it. So, of course, she's going to give you boss energy in the office, but when she's with her friends, she's just Khadijah. And I think that's something, that I can definitely resonate with. For me, especially now, like I was saying earlier, with starting a creative project with my Substack, with this podcast, of course, with my book club, I feel like having that boss like energy, like I just got this and nobody else can tell me what to do, that is 100% the energy that Khadijah gives. And of course, there were a lot of times where she was worried about what would happen to her company, as any boss or CEO would be, because you give so much into something and you pour your heart into it that you just want it to be received at the end of the day. So for me, I completely love Khadijah. I love all the girls on Living Single. I feel like I have a little bit of each of them, but if I have to be honest, Khadijah is the one that I 100% relate to the most. Number 4. And this one might come as, I don't know if it will come as a shock, because I honestly am kind of sad that this show it ended. The season finale, or the series finale, just took place like maybe over a month ago. This is Camille Parks from Harlem. Y'all, I loved Harlem. I still love it. I have to go like rewatch it from season 1. But Camille, girl, bless her heart. Bless her heart. If Issa is me during my figure it out phase in life, Camille is me during my dear God, please let me seem as successful as I am, even though I'm crumbling on the inside phase. That is me when I feel like I think about Camille. I love the duality of her because she's a very accomplished professor, but she's also making these horrible decisions known to man. And I'm like, how many of us are super successful in our careers, in just other aspects of life, but aren't getting it right on the dating front? Listen, so much of us definitely resonate with that. And one thing that I love the most about her, or one thing that I tend to gravitate towards when it comes to her, is that she reminds me that wanting to make a difference doesn't mean that you have to have it all figured out. The messy, trying, passionate but confused energy that she brings, listen, she be bringing it, but it's very personal, and I think a lot of people can definitely relate to that. I always feel like with Camille, she is a reminder that growth looks ugly before it can look graceful. And for me, it's pretty much like looking polished on the outside, but low key losing it behind the scenes. And I know so many of us feel that way in just trying to have it together, in trying to make it seem like we have it together, or to other people, it looks like we got it together, but behind the scenes, we are falling apart. And that's Camille, pretty much. If you have not watched Harlem, please, 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 please give it a try. I feel like Harlem is just is it's a really, really good show. The characters that are on Harlem are just really, really good as far as, again, relatability in just trying to figure it out and trying to do what they want to do or whatever it is that they want to accomplish. But for me, I feel like Camille is she's already successful in her career, but it's that, ugh, I don't know what's going on with everything else. And Lord knows, especially if you watch the last season, I don't want to spoil it for anybody who has never watched Harlem, or if you haven't watched this last season. This last season is the end of the whole series, but I, man, just watching her growth from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, and even if you go all the way back to season one, and her betting on herself, in similar to Issa, in trying to just do what feels right to her and trying to figure that out altogether. So yeah. And last, but certainly not least, we have number five, and that is Aunt Viv. But this is the Aunt Viv from the Bel Air reboot. This is the one that I really, really want to talk about. So we can talk about the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, the original show, where we had two different versions of the Aunt Viv. I don't care what you say, the dark skinned Aunt Viv is the best Aunt Viv. No offense, listen, but the Aunt Viv from this reboot, I feel like if you haven't watched the reboot, you should, because it's very good. Very, very good. But her in particular, she is that evolved version of me, I guess. She's the version of me that knows what she wants. She already has the wisdom from the experience that she has, but she still aims to dream big. So even though she's accomplished so much and she knows, what it takes, she's still like, hey, I still have so much more to offer and I still want to go for it. And it's a great reminder in, you have your dreams, or other people, your dreams might be other people's dreams. So let's say my dream is right here and she's already accomplished that. She's like, babe, we can go even further. And I love that. And one of my favorite moments with this Aunt Viv in the reboot is that she's prioritizing her art again. She's doing art again after years of kind of putting herself second to her family and to her husband's career. And she's had to choose herself, not because she stopped loving her family, but because she remembered that she was part of that same family that she also needed to take care of as well. And one of the things that I love about Aunt Viv is that sometimes we get so caught up in being what other people need, we forget about the dreams that also live inside of us. And I think this Aunt Viv is a big reminder that you're allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to change your life, and you are allowed to change your priorities. And I think it's also a commitment to saying it doesn't matter what age you are, you can change or go after your goals no matter what. I think so many of us think that life needs to happen in our 20s and 30s. And if it is not happening in our 20s and 30s, and we will never get to where we need to be. And I believe that is a complete lie. A complete, complete, complete lie. Sometimes you will be going back to school at 40, 50, 60. There's so much more life to live if we have to break it down scientifically. um, what the average American lives until they're about, let's say, 80 years old. If you think your life is only going to happen in your 20s and your 30s, you are counting out a big chunk of your life where you are not giving yourself credit for life to take place. And I think Aunt Viv's story is a great example of that. And also having the support of people around her is something that we can all definitely resonate with, at least myself, in realizing, like, hey, there's more to life outside of me just doing this the whole time. I can do other things as well. And I love that for her. So there we have it. We have our five: Miss Issa D, Claire Huxtable, Khadija James, Camille Parks, and Aunt Viv. They are definitely five women, five very different women with five different energies, and they represent five different versions of me. And I think with the five of them, they have taught me that it's okay to be messy, it's okay to be ambitious, it is more than okay to evolve, and it is okay to still be figuring it out while loving yourself in the process. And I would love to hear from y'all, like, who are your favorite TV characters that kind of mirror who you are? If you want to send me a DM, comment on the post for this episode, or, just hit me up and vent about all of your faves. I'm all ears. And before we head on out, I want to leave y'all with a quote by the poet and writer Gwendolyn Brooks. She says, "Do not desire to fit in, desire to oblige ourselves to lead." As always, God bless. Have an amazing day, and thank y'all for listening to Allison's Corner.